basically, everything in this proposal is what has been talked about at meetings. A lot of it has already been started in the state. There's really not a whole lot new or that would take us off the reform track that has been started here and has been moving forward for a few years anyway. And these are all things that we talk about. We'd like to have these things done in the district, to have a better assessment program, to have a good data system so we can call up student data and use them more effectively. So we're excited that if these millions would come to the state and move all of this forward faster, that would be a very good thing. So we would like to apply or commit to being a participating district. We would like the school committee to sign on with us and say yes, that you would agree, that you would support us in that. And the commissioner also asked that superintendents work to get the unions to also agree that they would participate and work toward these goals. And I will, as I said, I just got this morning, so I will contact the union presidents and walk them through what I learned today. And both of them were at the meeting on the last open forum that the commissioner had, and a lot of these things were discussed there. So it's not going to be any new news to them, but I am optimistic that they'll work with us on that. So if you could take a look at this and see if you feel comfortable with it, and if so, vote in the affirmative on the 7th, and then I can submit to the commissioner what we're on board.
That's good.
And the other piece of
just a quick question. I just noticed on some of these sheets, there's certain things that look like they've been stricken.
Oh, I went through there, and because we're not, those are for underperforming districts. And you'll notice on the memorandum of understanding, a few things I typed no in.
Yeah.
They all had to do with underperforming districts that would have to come up with new plans and, you know,
okay.
not submit, but participate in more intensive professional development. So they just didn't pertain to us, and that's why I drew a line through. And this handout explains what it would mean to be a participating district and initiatives. And the teacher evaluation is a big part of this, and would offer us the opportunity to be at the table while this is developed throughout the state. I know that that's a priority for us, and we certainly want to see that moving ahead. But to have the input into it, I think would be important. And the other piece of paper I gave you is also sent from the commissioner.
These charts for
this is an analysis of what the governor is proposing about reducing our state aid. And Jane and I went over this. This is quite convoluted. First, it states what was enacted in the FY10 budget as far as our state aid, stabilization money, the total. Then the next group is the 3% across the board cut, and this is talking about this year's aid, which is just about $12,000 for us. And then the additional pension reform, and that would be if the legislature passes his proposal on pension reform, it's again a transfer of money. Our costs would be decreased, but he gets the money, or
I think that state would be.
No, I think it's him.
Oh, okay, well, there.
I think the state aid would get reduced by whatever they project our savings to be.
Again, that's kind of a, it's a hypothetical. If that passes, that piece of how he's attempting to balance the budget. Then he's got a stabilization fund shift.
From us to somebody else.
This I didn't understand because it's a reduction of $3,500, but two columns later it gives it back to us. And we get an additional stabilization allocation.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Everybody's not reallocated in the same amount. Okay. Maybe he's shifting the funds temporarily and then putting them back.
Not me. I just looked at the bottom line is that it's a reduction of 2.8%.
Yeah.
But do we ever even get any stabilization funds that we can now shift back?
Yeah. I was wondering about
Get
that.
some.
Yeah, we received stabilization. We can apply for it over a 2-year period. We've made one
Oh, that is
request.
a
Part of
2-year,
stimulus.
oh, that, okay. The stimulus money, no, that's the stabilization.
So overall, it looks like a reduction of about $12,000 for us in this fiscal year.
But much more than that if this phantom pension savings don't materialize.
Well,
Because that 2.8% is including the anticipated savings of whatever it is, $68,000.
I don't understand it, because
so-
if you look at the last column here, and the 2.8% change goes to everybody,
Right.
and then it says without pension. Dollar change without pension is the 11,967. And so with the pension, I guess you're right, that there is that, there would be another 68,724.
So it would be I see.
But it's not clear if our aid would get cut by that much if the pension didn't pass.
Right.
Or if he would try to get that money somewhere else. I read the Projo and I read, you know, what was online, and I still don't understand exactly what it is he's proposing, so when in doubt, go to the bottom line and see what they say you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Well, just a word on the pension, I printed out some of his supplemental budget here. But on the pension reform, the way it's worded, where it is? Its savings for FY 2010 supplemental budget are based upon a preliminary actuarial report which identifies the reduction in contribution rates for state employees and teachers. The savings estimated for FY 2010 is budgeted as savings to the state, and a corresponding reduction is taken in state aid, state education aid, for the savings that local school districts will have as a result of the lower contributions. But those lower contributions aren't even going into effect this year. So how can we be, unless they're gonna do what they did last year and have us defer our contributions, they didn't call it defer, they called it don't submit them, but we all know it's defer.
But then you come back the next year and you have to make it all up.
But we haven't yet for last year.
I know,
What
so
they
it's
ended
just
up-
a building
What they ended up
huge
doing
pot
last
that we're
year,
gonna have to put in at some point.
what they ended up doing last year was they had us not contribute. And then when they got to the end of the year, they looked at your total payroll for the teacher retirement. And they lowered the rate to like 12% instead of we were scheduled to pay like 14%. And then they calculated it for the whole year. They looked at what you already contributed, and then they decided, they figured out how much you could take off your state aid, and then you paid the difference back. In our case, because we had gotten state aid and we owed more, we ended up paying the retirement system because we had already received the state aid. So they did it from like March to June, and it worked out exactly the way they had said, that it was a wash. So whatever monies that we saved with the lower rate, they took off state aid. So it was the numbers that they came up with.
And we won't have to make up for that lower rate of contributions in the future.
I guess the actuarial report is saying,
We've got a funnel. Really?
well,
We've been contributing too much before they did this?
to the system that's always been rumored as
Underfunded?
bankrupt.
Yeah, I know, right.
Close to
That's-
bankrupt.
That's
I
right.
think it's because they, the way they did the pension reform, they changed the dates for when you can retire, so it sort of,
Oh,
you know, like if it was a couple more years, you couldn't retire, so you would save money in that way. So they were able to reduce the
so
That
the
makes sense.
contributions have been reduced, like it's not that we're
They
just
were
reducing them as a temporary measure.
They were
Okay,
reduced this
it's
year.
reduced because of a
Because it's
reason,
later.
we don't have to pay as much
Right.
money as they thought, okay.
The other language was, concerning when teachers